Good evening and welcome to TDM Talk Show. I'm your host, Kelsey Wilhelm. Our guest tonight is Benedicta Taberdo Palcon, Chairperson of the Greens Philippines Migrant Workers Union here in Macau. As an environmentalist and rights protection group, Greens has been promoting climate-friendly living in action through events such as the World Cleanup Day. In addition, the group aims to help protect the rights of domestic workers, raising awareness of issues and aiming to provide information to those in doubt. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
We've had a lot happening recently in terms of climate change movements, an overall desire to try and clean up, let's say, not only the oceans, but what we create in terms of trash, recycling. And I noticed that just recently you held, for the second year, the Let's Do It Macau event.
Yes,
What was the issue of the event, and why did you choose to kickstart that?
Okay, let me introduce first what is Let's Do It Macau. So Let's Do It Macau is in line with the Let's Do It World. It's a global movement that supports and connects a new generation of community leaders who are ready to act together to find lasting solutions for the waste problem in their country through the use of innovative technology, training leaders, and a massive global citizens action called the World Cleanup Day. So the World Cleanup Day is a global cleanup event not only to pick up waste, but also to raise awareness of the severity of the global crisis, which drive behavior of change towards less consumption and induce companies and organizations and governments to adopt more sustainable environment policies. So this year, more than 20 million already joined in around 178 countries.
Okay.
Joined the cleanup in this in their every communities. Yes. So now it's more already, and as we join this. We also have some support from the government, just like the Municipal Affairs Bureau. They provide us the cleaning materials during the cleaning event. So we're happy that we don't have to spend for our own money because this is we don't have the organization don't have the funds for this. So we get some support from the government.
Now the World Day was on the 21st. You held the Macau event on the 22nd.
Yes.
And you went to in front of the Kunyam statue, right, in
Yes,
Macau?
that's right.
And how much trash were you able to pick up?
So we collected almost, I think, more than 300 kilograms of trash for just 1 hour.
That's sad to see that there is that much trash there to be picked up. Now, the Let's Do It Macau, you're the country coordinator for Macau.
Yes.
But it brings together groups, not only including Greens, it brings together some other groups.
Yes.
So how do you go about attracting these groups, talking to these groups, and seeing if they're interested?
Actually, I posted in social media about the event, and some friends who already joined us before during the cleanup drives of Greens Philippines. So they are already the ones who join us every time we have the cleanup. So they just come to me and tell me that their group is joining. So I was very happy and that they are very supportive to these cleanup drives that we are doing.
Now, this is the second year that you've done this specific event. I'm wondering, in terms of the groups that participate, do you find that there is interest from groups that stretches beyond the migrant worker community, or has it been mostly migrant workers who have been reaching out to offer their help?
So far, I only reach out for the migrant workers, but I'm planning to reach out to the other community, just like the locals and the Portuguese community. But I have no time to do that since I'm working full-time as domestic worker.
Yes, true. Yes. And it's amazing to see that so many people who do not have free time are still dedicating their time, the little free time they have to do this. Now, I understand that you yourself not only work as the country coordinator for Let's Do It Macau, the chairperson for the Greens, you have many other roles. I know that you've went through climate reality leader training with the former U.S. Vice President Al Gore.
Yes, that's right.
And which is very, very good to see. It's nice to see that there is also institutional levels. That was a free training course, right?
Yes, that's right.
And that was with Al Gore himself.
Yes.
And he's offering free training courses.
Yes.
That's great. It's very good to see.
So he's having one in this coming October in Japan, I think. Yes.
What about an upcoming event? I understand that you're also going to be joining another you're going to be helping another group in an upcoming event that's happening soon.
Yes, yes.
When is that?
Yeah, it will be this coming Sunday. It's organized by the Macau Eco-Conscious community. So I will be joining them and some of my friends together in Kulawan Village is the meeting point. But I don't know exactly the exact place.
Okay.
But it's in Kulawan Village.
Okay.
So that will be on Sunday at 3 p.m.
All right.
Yes.
Have you seen recently that there have been, with so much attention being paid to the issue internationally, with Greta Thunberg speaking in the United Nations,
Yes, yes.
and among many other things that are happening,
Yes.
do you see more events happening in Macau that are eco-friendly, cleanups, and also awareness?
Yeah, I see more, and even I saw the climate strike Macau. I even just that happened that I have to make friend with the organizer of the climate strike Macau. So and I feel really proud of the youth mobilizing to fight the climate change in this climate strike. And as I said that we only have one house in this planet and the planet Earth, and we really need to get out of the way of the young people fighting for our planet. So
No, that's an interesting point, because there are a lot of young people and they have defined this mainly as a school strike, at least in terms of Greta Thunberg. It started off as the school strike.
Yes.
But do we as adults have an increased responsibility to also stand by these children?
I think we should be standing by them. So we have to support them all the way. So it's not only about the children. It's about the adult and the parents that will guide them for the future, because they are our future. Yeah.
Now, in terms of what can be done as adults, there are certain things I noticed through the Facebook page of the Greens as well, that they had mentioned not only initiatives that are happening with legislation, with laws, but also the cleanup drives
Yes.
that have been happening. You've done, what, 13 so far?
Yes.
And the most recent one was to celebrate the 4-year anniversary
yes,
of Greens.
That's right.
It's good to see. What some of the other measures that we're seeing come into place, and which you were also talking about within the community via Greens, is the plastic bag levy, which is going to come into effect soon. What do you think about that?
So about the plastic bag tax, is a good move by the government, I think, but not a very good measure. As we see, to reduce the use of single-use plastic bag, it's better to raise awareness, like making TV ads and posters, teaching people to bring their own eco-friendly bags in shopping, and instead of charging them $1, because $1 is just nothing for, I know everybody will just simply pay $1 and get another plastic bag. But the main purpose of this levy, it should become plastic-free for everything. Even the single-use plastic for drinking, for drinking water, buying the stuff, buying the foods. Yes, that's right. So so we have to teach the people to separate the household rubbish or trash as well, because it have to start in the household, not only in the outside. Yeah, because once we separate our trash, our rubbish, so we can bring it to the collecting point. And since the government is setting up some what to call that? They have
some new machines for recycling. Yes, which
but even if there is those things, if we don't give awareness to the people how to keep their trash or how to recycle properly, is no use.
We have seen examples also of even the recyclers themselves who are processing what is meant to be recyclables only. They're finding other items.
Yes.
People are being provided with the recycling bins, but then they're not using them properly.
Yeah, they're not using it properly. Sometimes when I do that, because I do the separation of my rubbish in my boss house, so whenever I throw this in the collection bins, I saw plenty of things other than some even have dirty foods or unwanted foods thrown in the plastic bin collection. So it's no use.
I notice one of the major problems we have with trash in Macau, because we generate a very large amount of trash, and a large amount of it is not recycled. But a big problem is the food waste. Do you personally, or within Greens, are you also pushing the idea of recycling food as well? Or are you focusing more on the plastic issue first and then pushing for other issues later on?
We are pushing for the plastic issues first because for the food, for the waste food, sometimes it's just no time to bring it to the person in need. So to make it reusable, something like that. So it just ended up in the trash. But for me, I really separate the waste foods from the solid and other waste foods, waste. Yeah, that's right.
Now, I'm hoping that this is actually going to continue the momentum that it has so far, because we're seeing more people looking at it. We had a very shocking, let's say, results of a study come out, I think it was last October, that warned that we had something like 10 years to fix this problem,
Yes.
or we will have disastrous consequences. And then just yesterday, they launched a special report on the ocean, the United Nations, and they talked specifically, they said that we were unprecedented and enduring changes in the ocean and cryosphere. Now that's not only because of warming, but because of the amount of plastic in the ocean. Have you thought about, or I know that you do coastal cleanups in particular, does that extend to cleaning the water itself? Is there a way to extend to cleaning the water itself?
For now, maybe no, because since we don't have the materials for cleaning the water, and I think we need some insurance for the cleaners.
Yes, true,
to do that. Yes, and since me myself is not a good swimmer, so I think we don't touch the water first. Maybe just the coastal area.
What do you think so far about one of the main pushers of this, not only the plastic bag levy, but environmental protection overall, is the DSPA. It's the Environmental Protection Bureau. They are tasked also with helping to educate about.
Yes, yes.
What do you think about, in particular in English, do you see enough promotional materials around Macau referring to recycling or promoting recycling?
No, I don't think so. So that's why I'm suggesting that the government should make the TV ads or the billboards, making the awareness on how to recycle the things or the plastics.
What about the associations themselves, about also creating those types of materials, posters, or are there any difficulties in, let's say, creating a poster can be relatively easy.
Yes.
Legally posting it in the right place can be more difficult. I know that before, when you had been on the show quite a few years ago, you'd also mentioned that there could be not necessarily protests, but gatherings to help promote these issues.
Yes.
Have you found that it's difficult to create those types of gatherings?
I think it's not so, as long as there are some organizations that will support it.
Yes.
And some place for the event. Yes.
So do you have to go through a registration process?
So far, Greens Philippines is not registered first, but we're planning to do it. We're planning to register under Macau.
But in terms of holding, let's say, an event, if you wanted to hold an event in maybe Senado Square, would you have to register for that event?
I think yes, maybe, and we have to apply for the place also.
Okay.
We need to permit to use it.
All right.
So it's for the unregistered organization. It's not that easy to apply for the place.
Okay.
Something like
but possibly going together and collaborating with a registered organization or association could work.
Yes, it could work.
Okay. I know that Greens embodies a lot of different values. It has 4 core values from the base group in the Philippines, which are social justice, grassroots democracy, ecological sustainability, and peace and nonviolence.
Yes, that's right.
There are numerous issues in Macau that relate to everyone, but we also have a very large migrant worker population from various different countries.
Yes.
But the Philippines has a very large migrant worker population.
Yeah, that's
here.
right.
How do you aim to help the migrant worker population here through Greens?
So far, Greens Greens Philippines is helping those who come to us that have the employment problems. Sometimes, actually, we already help a lot of them, and especially we have also one case of sexual harassment
Okay.
that we help, and some underpayments. They come to us and we help them and assist them to the Labor Department to file their claim.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we are doing as of now.
Do you think that from the complaints that you have received so far, or the requests for help that you've received so far, is there enough information in English about the legal aspects of employment in Macau?
Yeah, there is.
There is?
We can get a pamphlet from the Labor Department.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that comprehensive enough, though?
Not so much.
Okay. Okay.
So we have to, sometimes we have to explain it
Mm-hmm.
personally if the person don't understand it.
Okay. What, if you just, if you remember, what are some of the main things that need to be explained?
I can't remember some in particular, but what they are they're asking is the how can they go. What the only problem for the domestic workers, if they had a problem, they are afraid to go to complain because they're afraid to lose their job.
Yeah.
Because once they complain, for sure the employer will terminate them. So that is the most thing that we had to explain them, that they don't have to be afraid, because if they don't speak up, no one will speak up for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
In the cases when they have complained, have you seen successful cases with that?
Yes, I have
Yes?
seen successful cases with that. So I think the Labor Department is, I always tell them that you have to go there because Labor Department is not biased. So they will listen to the problem regarding, you have the proof of the problem you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they also, I noticed that they do provide something, you know, as necessary as the labor contract,
Yes.
examples for people who do need that type of information in English and who are here.
Yes.
What about the changes in the environment? Because you've been in Macau for, if I'm wrong, in November you will have been in Macau for 16 years?
Yes, that's right.
And before that you lived in Hong Kong also?
Yes.
For over a decade?
Yes.
And also as a domestic
Yes,
helper in Hong
that's
Kong.
right.
So you've experienced both sides of the SARs.
Yes.
I'm very curious because Hong Kong has the policy where to be a domestic helper, you have to live with the family.
Yeah.
That has been defended by saying that it saves the employee from having to pay such high rental
Yes,
costs
that's
in a
right.
city that has high rental costs. You've been in Macau for long enough to see the rents completely change. What is your opinion on that law, on that regulation?
On that regulation, I think if they will push the live-in, just like in Hong Kong, I think that will become the way, or become, that will be the way for to have the abuse, something like that. Because some may, if the family or the employer don't have the place for the domestic worker to sleep, I think they will ask the domestic worker to sleep on the floor or something in the kitchen or something like that. Because there's a lot of problem like that in Hong Kong, having this kind of problem. They even ask the domestic worker to stay in the kitchen or toilet, something like that. So if this will happen, that may happen in Macau also.
Okay, but it is an option. I know that even within the sample contract, they have A and B option of living with your employer or
Living
choosing to
out.
live outside.
Yes.
For the average person, for the average employee who is here, which option do you think is better?
For the average, I think most of them prefer to stay out. Yeah.
But the housing allocation is only 500.
Yes, only 500.
Do you think that needs to increase?
Yes, of course. We've been asking for the government to increase for at least 1,000 for almost, for every time we ask for the increase, and we ask that to be included, to be increased also, as even as 1,000, because 500 is not enough for a single bed space. So single bed space is cost 800 to 1,000
Okay.
patakas.
But there was good news recently. We saw that there was the mandatory adjustment of the minimum salary to 3,000 from 2,800. Does that go far enough?
I think for the Filipinos, that's still a very big problem for us because when we apply for the clearance to have our vacation in the Philippines, what the Polo or the Philippine Labor
Yes.
Office requires is at least 400 US dollar, or that is around 3,500 MAP. So if we only have 3,000 in our working contract, they will not give us the clearance. So which
Okay.
means we cannot come back to Macau or to work again in our employer's house.
And that has to be proven by showing the contract to the Philippine authorities?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and if you show them the contract after you've gone home on vacation, and you
Yes,
come back,
yes.
will they not allow you to come back?
They will not allow you. They will not give you the clearance, the one we call the certificate of employment.
Okay. Are you worried that you will ever be in that situation?
For me, no, but for most, I have talked with other friends which have the same situation. And they are denied for the clearance from the Philippine Consulate.
Okay. If in the event that they're denied the clearance from the Philippine Consulate and they stay in the Philippines, does that activate the 6-month time period that they have to be outside of Macau upon termination of the contract? Do most employers terminate the contract in that case?
For now, I haven't seen any there is some cases that are terminated because of that, but I don't know if they are banned already.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What about some of the other, there are obviously lots of issues facing people who are migrant laborers in Macau. One of them is getting employment in Macau. A lot of times that's done through employment agencies.
Yes.
There have been years, if not decades, of exploitation by employment agencies, and we see case after case.
Yes, that's right.
But do you think that it's getting better?
Oh, so far I think no.
Is it getting worse?
Yeah, I think it's getting worse because I still heard a lot of complaints about the employment trafficking, something like that, or recruitment trafficking, mostly done by Filipinos and collaborated with the Chinese agencies,
Okay.
something like that. So it's getting worse because most of them are paying up to 20,000, 10,000 to 20,000 patakas for that fee.
And that's, I mean, when you came and spoke with us before in 2015, I think that number was much lower. That was something like 4,000 to 10,000.
Yes.
So
yes.
we've
now increased.
doubled.
Yes, that's right.
How many of the people do you think that are going through the employment agencies actually end up with legal employment in terms of percent?
Actually, it's not the agency that go into that illegal recruitment. It's the agent that represent them.
Okay.
That represent them, or agent that pretending to represent them.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you find that happens mostly in groups based in the Philippines or based in Macau?
Based in Macau.
Based in Macau.
Yes.
What can someone do if they have that circumstance?
Oh, they have nothing to do because the person ran away with the money already and can return back their money.
For those types of complaints, from what you've seen, have they been taken to the police?
Some are taken to the police, some are not, because since they are tourists, so they are afraid to go to the police station.
Okay.
Yes. Because
What about in regards to the Philippine authorities being able to act on what has happened? I understand that for the consulate itself, it can't push through a complaint if it was not filed with the police.
yeah, the Philippine Consulate can only do the reporting from here to the Philippine in the Philippine embassy in the Philippine base. So they only get the reports. So far, they cannot help push with the cases.
In regards to the consulate overall, how helpful is the consulate in assisting with the needs of the local Filipino community?
For me, in my opinion, they just a little help from them, especially if we mentioned the case of Tagakay, something like that. If I know that if they didn't come to TDM, the Philippine Consulate will not give any attention to them because they've been there already and then they didn't didn't look after them until they came to TDM
Yeah.
for help.
So Raymond Tagakay suffered a amputation of his leg due to a work accident that happened
Yes,
when he was
that's right.
working in the car cleaning shop. Yeah, we're hoping to see that everything is resolved appropriately for all sides involved, and that everything that the law is followed. They, in terms of what things the consulate is doing, though, do you think that they're doing? I've seen that they're holding events, they're holding National Day celebrations, things like that. What areas could they improve on?
I think they must improve on their services. That's the main thing.
Do you think that every Filipino who goes to the consulate is treated equally?
Yeah, they are treated equally, but some, just like what I said with a particular case, I think they should really provide some attorneys or for the legal cases, something like that.
Do you think that that's going to change?
I hope so.
What avenues do people have to try and ask for change?
Can you?
In terms of if they have a special request of the consulate and they feel like their needs are not being met, what is the best place to then direct that request?
I think we can direct the request to the president himself, Philippine president. Yes.
I know that he recently, well, not so recently, visited Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he visits Macau sometime
Yes,
soon.
I hope so.
In regard to some other issues here in Macau, it seems like there are quite a few different separate groups, both doing human rights protection and worker rights protection, and also environmental protection. How do these communities come together? How can you reach out to each other? Is it by holding more events? Is it by contacting people by social media? I understand that you do spread a lot of information about some of the legal changes, some of the environmental events, and some of the other things that are happening. Is social media the best way?
Yeah, social media is the best, I think, and some is through personal collaboration with the group leaders, something like that.
What do you think that there are going to be more events happening towards the end of the year?
Yeah, I think so.
What about Greens? Does Greens already have its next event organized?
Oh, so far we don't have in calendar yet.
Okay.
Yes, so far we don't have.
I have just one more issue that I'd like to debate because it's been very much talked about, the exclusion of the domestic helper from the minimum wage bill.
Yes.
They had various rationales for why they did that, but do you think that that was fair?
Actually, we are very sad in the inclusion of that from the migrant domestic workers in the minimum universal minimum wage. We are very saddened with that inclusion. So because we think everyone is a worker, so domestic work is a work, so it has to have some minimum wage, just like the other workers, just like the security guards, just like the company cleaners. So we are all workers. No matter the employer will gain or will have some money in employing us, something like that. So it has to be all equal.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you think that, I mean, it took a long time for the minimum wage bill as it was to come about, and then it underwent another alteration, and that took years.
That's right.
Do you think that there is hope on the horizon to be included in either be included in the minimum wage bill at some point, or to have a separate bill that will protect domestic helpers' rights?
Yeah, if they can make the equal minimum wage for the domestic workers, at least they have the different or separate protection, especially the 3,000 that they just released now, these few months, that 3,000 minimum wage. I think they should make it a little more bigger because really is the economy is getting high, expenses are getting high. So I think even we said that the domestic worker stay in the employer's house, and actually not all domestic workers got the free food. Actually, it's only those that have the privilege to have that with a kind employer. So most of the domestic workers buy their own food. So it's not actually free. So 3,000 something is, if we also get the expenses for our foods and everything, is really not enough for to survive for the domestic workers.
Now, I understand that you are in support of a housing allowance.
Yes.
Are you worried that if there is a minimum wage bill that protects domestic helpers, that the option of the housing allowance might disappear?
I don't think so. I hope no. I hope not, because since I said most of the household in Macau is too small, so I think some of the employer cannot provide their domestic worker the housing space for them. So I think most of them can still live outside and have the benefit of getting the household allowance.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I hope that we can see changes happening for the better, both within
Yes.
the climate and also within workers' rights here in
Yes,
Macau.
that's right.
Thank you again for being on the
Thank
show.
you too. Thank you for inviting.
That's all for this evening. Join us again next week for more TDM Talk Show. Good night.